What is up, everybody, man? Thank you guys tuning in to another episode of the Coach Code podcast. Mrs. Jen Murtland in the house, representing
Hey.
the Fight Club. My question with Jen is always, where in the world are you? Because you never know.
You never know. I think, there's this meme that people have going around that was like, your single friend with no kids be like, hey, you want to go to Africa this weekend? And I literally had at least 5 different people send me that. And I'm like, yes, that's my meme. Yes.
Yeah, that is you. That is you. So you're in the Cincy market.
Yep.
I would love for you to kind of just unpack.
Also Portugal, also Mexico, also Colombia, also Panama, also Florida, also Michigan.
Keep going. Keep going. Home base right now is Cincy.
Yes.
We'll just call it that.
Yes, exactly.
So talk to us a little bit about kind of current business model for you and how things have been leading up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much, because the reason, and this is kind of the message that I want to get out and people to understand and for you to unpack for them, is that, the skills that you have travel. I remember, talking with Tina Call, her in Michigan, and
He's awesome.
And, it was one of the things that we talked about, right? When you develop a certain skill set in this industry, it doesn't matter where you're at.
Right.
And I would love for you to kind of talk about that.
Well, okay. That's good. So the skill set that I have is generating leads from people that I don't know. And that is very translatable because I can generate leads from anywhere, and I have generated leads from anywhere. It's just a matter of time, right? So like when I'm in Morocco or Japan or whatever, I just have to back out the time and say, okay, what time is it in Ohio? And that's the time that I work. And it sounds kind of hard, but it's actually pretty easy. And so I've been this business model that we work on currently is the model that we've worked on, I think, for the last like 4 years. And it's a model where I generate the leads and then I pass them on, I refer them out. So I haven't really been client facing for about 4 years, mostly because I suck at it, honestly, and I would rather be in Japan.
Because you have so much patience for the face-to-face conversation.
My patience knows no bounds, My mom used to tell me that patience is a virtue. And I always used to say, like, even when I was little, I'd be like, one I don't possess.
Yeah, or a desire to achieve.
I don't have a desire to achieve. And I don't feel like you should work on your weaknesses. I feel like you should double down on your strengths. Like, why not? It's more of a fun life. You get to build it how you want. And I'm not saying like everybody should cold call. Like a lot of people don't like that, but if you can generate leads in this business, no matter how you do it, maybe you're really good at like placing ads. Maybe you're really good with your sphere. Like if you triple down on that, especially in today's market, because it takes more to get a deal. If you can triple down on that or charge more for your service, then you're like way better off than trying to do everything, especially if you don't like it.
Exactly. So, we kind of themed around, how to stay productive in today's market, but also still live the life that you want to live, and it's that whole life by design, not being a slave to this business, but using this business as a vehicle to help you live the life that you want to live. 100%. And you hit a couple things right there, being productive with leads in today's market. Where is productivity in today's market? Where are the leads in today's market?
I mean, I think that if for most agents and for us too, it's your sphere. There are leads there. Most agents are not maximizing the people that they know. And if you're a person that's more comfortable doing business with people that you know, really focusing on that and asking and upping your sales skills and asking for the business. Like you're not doing it. Nobody, like, okay, we'll say there's always the one person, right? that's
Right.
really doing it right. But most people can, if you'd be lying to yourself if you were like, I do everything I'm supposed to. And the fact is if you do, then you would be netting out what you desire. And if you're not, then you're not doing everything possible.
And so you look at that, sphere, people, reaching out. I mean, in today's market, is it more looking for the more of the people that have to move, or that that the want to movers, are they still, is that still an option for them right now, or is it more of the people that have to make a move?
For me, I've never dealt with people that want to. I only deal with have to. And I think you're bringing up a good point. Like, what is your definition of a lead, right? So for
Yeah.
me, my definition of a lead is somebody who's going to sign a contract with me or somebody else. They are signing a contract within the next 7 to 10 days. So you have to work harder to find that person because there's just not as many transactions going through, or you have to be more open-minded about how a transaction works. You have to be more like maybe a lease purchase, or maybe find some 1031 exchange like investors, or you have to be more comfortable. Like if you have a buyer client that is moving and needs to move, has to move, how are you finding that house for them? Like it can't just be like, well, I'll look on the MLS and send you everything. No, you have to expand how you do things. So this is going to include door knocking, circle prospecting, maybe sending letters, like placing ads. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do that is beyond the easiest thing to do.
Right. Right. And that's what it is, right? It takes effort, and it's not easy.
Yes.
It's uncomfortable. And I think that's where especially a lot of real estate agents, they kind of get to that point and stop. And this is my point.
Good. It's
Starting
easy to
out.
be successful then if you are okay with being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
What's
I
the
mean,
good news?
absolutely. And so that was my point in the beginning, is that, those skills travel. They not only
Yeah.
travel all over the globe, but they travel in any market conditions.
Right.
And
Yes.
so and I would love for you to speak to this, because you talk to lots of agents all over the planet all the time.
Mhm.
What did the last few years do to people's work ethic?
I mean, is tanked for work ethic the best
Well, you are going to
phrase?
be in a tank in it soon. So
Dude, look, it is my philosophy to be like jealous of your own life. And like I no holds barred, I brag. I mean, I like look what I'm doing, look at where I'm going. Like, damn, this is like the best life. Because if you don't brag about if you're not excited about your life, like what are you doing? You're 40 something years old, or however old you are, you're above 10, like live the life that you want. That's what you're working for, you know?
it is. It really is. That's one of my good buddies. His little life mantra starts out that way, right? Live the life you want to live. It's like then do epic shit with epic people.
Yes,
Be kind,
of
and
course.
then don't apologize to anybody about it.
No. But here's the thing, when you decide to start with, and we can get back to the work ethic, but it kind of almost doesn't matter, right? Like you either it was either everything was easier for everybody in the last couple of years. It was easier. But truly it was never that hard. Okay. Because it was like, okay, if you have a good work ethic and you're committed to your client, and your client is a true lead, somebody who is signing a contract, who needs to move, not who like, oh, if you find this unicorn, I'll buy it. No, don't work with those people. Like that's not that, you're making yourself crazy by working with those people. But if you truly had clients that need to move, have to move, or signing a contract or whatever within the next 7 to 10 days, you were doing the things that needed to be done already. But what happened to you, instead, it was a lot easier to do the transaction, but you also got more clients. You got a lot more clients. Like your business increased a ton during this time because it was never about your work ethic. Your work ethic was already there.
Yeah. And was it one of the things that I kind of start to, when you kind of sit back and reflect on it, right? And it's like, okay, I felt like everybody was moving
Yeah.
and looking to buy or sell. So that meant everybody tapping into all of their sphere. And I think a lot of that sphere was exhausted, right? And so the
What?
want
Maybe.
tos,
Okay.
you
I want to.
exhausted the want tos out of your
Okay.
sphere. So when you're saying get back to those daily activities, like you said, I'm only looking for the have tos.
Yeah, that's
You know
it.
exactly who you're looking for, because you know the type of conversation, you know their pain points in depending upon what it is in the situation.
Well, and also, if you're not where you want to desire to be in your business, when you amp up your intensity, everything changes. Like that's all you have to do, right? Is like amp up your intensity around it. So
What does
if
that look
that
like?
means for most agents, it's exactly what you said. Switch from working with want tos to have tos. When you change your definition, your questions change, your voice changes. You clients that don't match you in the intensity are repelled because they're not really clients. Like we all have these like, oh, I have so many leads. No, you don't. You don't call them. They're not really wanting to buy or sell, or you don't even know if they really want to buy or sell. They're unrealistic or whatever, right? Like how many leads do you really truly have? And most top sales agents, people think, oh, they have 100. No, they have like 10, maybe.
Do you make that distinction between an inquiry, somebody raising their hand, to, okay, we got to qualify them to become that MQL, right?
Yes.
That market qualified lead
Yes.
in today's market. So you have to define what today's market is to know
Yes.
what is qualified.
I like that. MQL. I never heard that. I like it.
but
Market
that's
qualifying lead.
but that's it, right? They're like, yeah,
Right.
I'm getting, I'm getting $3 Facebook leads. Okay, but are they qualified leads?
Right.
So how many
Who knows?
do you have? What's a cost? So it's like cost per lead. Well, what's cost per qualified lead? And,
Right.
and really looking for that. And I mean, I don't want to keep beating, this drum, but I think it's important for everybody to understand is that you have to look for the have tos,
Hmm.
the life changes, the
Yep.
job transfers, the just those key things that make people have to make a move.
Yeah, 100%. I think people think you have to narrow your focus. And I think people think if I narrow my focus, I'm shutting everybody else out. Wrong. When you narrow your focus, only people that fit through that door will come, and there will be a lot more because right now your focus is too broad and there's too many people. Those people that have to, they can't fit through the door because there's too many people blocking them. So
Right.
narrow your focus, get rid of the people that feel comfortable and safe and they may one day in 20 years buy. Who cares? Like if they're not buying now, it is unrealistic unless, like to your point, unless a life change happens that they will move. Most people don't move because they feel like it.
Right.
And if they're not making steps towards changing their situation, which most people don't, they're not going to be ready in a year either, just like they haven't been ready in the last 5 years since they've lived in that house.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I was just, as you were kind of reflecting through there, as you were talking, I was kind of reflecting, thinking through, okay, so we went through 2021. There was the want tos, but there was something that triggered that move. And it was probably still even a life incident at that time because they realized, hey,
Likely,
if I'm going to have to be stuck in this fucking house with all of these crazies, I want a bigger
I need a
house,
bigger
right? I need an
house.
office.
Yep.
I need a compound. I need where if I don't have to leave, I don't have to leave. Did you experience and see some of that?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it in both ways, right? It's like, okay, people really got clear, like, is this really my spouse? Right? I mean, we saw a lot
Yeah.
of divorces,
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I want, if this is how it's going to be, I want a better life. I want to move to something smaller in the city where I can like get to what I need. Or if I'm going to be working, if we're both going to be working from home and the kids are going to be homes, like basically homeschooled, online or whatever, we need something bigger. We need more land. So it is moving is, unless you're an investor, moving is attached to a life change. So what is the trigger for the move? If
Hmm.
you can't ask enough questions to find out what is the trigger, what is that motivation, either you're not asking the right questions or there is no motivation. And if there is no motivation, then you have to be okay with saying like, hey, it doesn't sound like that now's really the time. Like, have you been watching the market? And they'll be like, yeah. Have you seen that houses are priced at, 250 are going for 300 and it's in like a day? Yeah. Or are you willing to participate in a market like that? And they're usually like, no, we want a deal. Okay, then we should wait for the market to show us that that's real and
Yeah.
deals are happening. Right now, deals are not happening.
Yeah. That's not the game, right? We can't
It's
play
not
that
the
game
game.
right now. You need to
Yeah.
stay put. And that's it's they don't have agents don't have a process, so they get a live one on the line. They think they got to figure out a way to get them, to get a commission check, and that's where that desperation. You want the deal more than they want it,
You
and
can't motivate somebody. They have to
yeah,
already be motivated.
no, no, not at all. And
But you're not
so
the entertainment. So there's this mindset like you are not the entertainment. So after hours and on nights and weekends, if that's when you're showing them and you're like kind of questioning, are they motivated? They're not. You're the entertainment. Try scheduling a showing at noon when they have lunch.
yeah,
And if they say no, be like, well, don't you get a lunch break? Yeah. Well, in this market, we have to be quick. Why don't we go then? And if they're like, no, I mean, maybe they're not motivated. Maybe they are, but maybe they're not.
yeah, just asking the right questions. You nailed it. I mean, just being really inquisitive, getting down to kind of what's the goal? What are you guys trying to accomplish? What's causing this? Right? Just not
Yeah.
afraid to ask those tough questions.
Well, and a lot of agents, like we have a pre-listing questionnaire that is like pretty thorough. That's like ask tough questions, right? And a lot of agents, they won't ask all the questions, but it's like if because they're afraid that the seller will cancel the appointment. But if you cancel the appointment now on the phone because you don't want to tell me what your house is worth, you don't want to, you don't want to get into the nitty, you don't want to tell me what you think the house is worth, you don't want to get into the nitty gritty, you're not ready. And I don't want to spend my time away from my family, my friends, my happy hour coming to you looking at your house when you're one not going to sign or not price it where it needs to be priced.
I love that. I mean, it's just you have the quick filters that you're just trying to get them through to just
That's
determine.
because my give a shit meter is so low.
And you're not afraid to work through as many conversations as you can to be able to determine, okay, somebody's ready.
Right. Because because I track my numbers. And that's the other thing. It's like, let's live in reality. As agents in reality, how many deals do you really need to do? And what does it get you net? Net is after you pay your broker. Net is after you pay expenses, after you pay the cost per lead. Like, what is going in your pocket? What do you really need? And how many houses is that really? Like, I know my numbers. So I know I can step on the gas or step on the brake. And you have to live in reality in order to get to this point, because there is a point where you realize, oh, I only need 25 people to say yes to me to get what I want.
Right.
That's not that many people.
It's real simple, right? The equation of business is offers minus no's equals yeses. How many
That's
offers
it.
are you making? Because we got an X number of no's that'll then get us to our yeses. So you can back into it. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I need 10 yeses. Okay. Well, then that's
How many no's do you need?
how many no's do you
Yep.
need? And then that's how many offers we need to be making on a monthly, weekly, daily basis to be able to, to hit those
Yeah.
targets that we're needing.
But if you're afraid of the math, if you're afraid of making money, if you're afraid that, I mean, there's all these fears that build up, right? Like, what if I'm successful at the business? What if I make more than I want? What if I don't make enough? And in these fears, we don't live in the reality of what is actually happening. Like, are we actually talking to enough people to reach the goals that we say we want to reach?
Right.
9 out of 10 times, the answer is no.
No.
Why?
Why? Why is that?
I don't know. I'm gonna let it cuss. Sorry. No, like
Yes.
one, I'd question, like, do you really want that? What does that mean? Because what happens is, okay, look, I'm a female. Most females in real estate, they have families. Many females in real estate have lived for their families, and now it's their time. Problem is it changed the dynamics of their household. So if I am successful, what happens to everybody else? What does that mean for everybody else? And they're afraid of that. And it's like, okay, but what does it mean for everybody else if you don't accomplish your goals? Like, let's look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, they're just nervous. Like you said in the beginning, it's like you're nervous about being uncomfortable. But But what if you were jealous of your own life? I mean, honestly, it's like the best feeling in the world. You're like, shit, I am so jealous of myself. This is
Yeah.
awesome. Why
Yeah.
not?
I think that keeps pushing you, right? That keeps pushing you to do the things that you want, and not just don't give a shit what anybody thinks.
Who
Right.
cares? And it doesn't matter. If you always like, there are key people that need to be your buffers, right? Because nobody's perfect and sometimes we go off the rails or whatever, right? Sometimes we
Yeah,
acting
it
crazy.
happens.
Eh. But if you followed everything everybody said, you would never get anything done because
Yeah.
there's always going to be somebody that's pro, always somebody that's con. But if you're living your best life, like you are like, this is what I set out to do, and look, I'm doing it, or I'm working towards it, I'm making progress, like I'm doing it, it gives everybody else around you the freedom because most people are afraid and they're like, what? I'm nervous. Like, I don't want to, I'm scared, like, to be able to say that out loud that I want to own investment property, that I want to have passive income and that it needs to be this amount in order for me to live the life that I want. But if you're surrounded by people that are living the life and creating the life or making steps towards that, and it gives you the energy and the freedom to do it too. And you're allowing your friends to do it also. It's great. That's better. That's a way better life.
Yeah. I mean, it's that whole, we know environment really drives everything. So being really,
Yes.
it's that old, who you're surrounded with, and it's the whole,
Mom was right.
yeah, yeah. And
Damn it.
it's, damn it. It really is so critical that you've got people that are pushing you, but also are celebrating you.
Yes.
And that's it's hard to find, and you got to be really selective of who you allow into that app, into that circle. And you're right, what you said about the family dynamic, and sometimes, like you said, transitioning into that role, and they're taking on more of the spotlight.
Right.
Then there's some of that crab in the bucket going on as well.
But that's like a conversation you have with your partner. Like, hey, look, not if this happens, but when I reach my goals, here's what I'm excited about. Here's what it can make help for our family, and have the key players of your family, like your kids. Oh my God, number one accountability partner is your child. Like, hey, if mommy does this, then I'll take you to Disney World. They're gonna freaking ask you every day, did you do the
Every
thing?
day,
So I go
every
to
day.
Disney World, right? You want an accountability partner? Have it be like a 6-year-old. But same with your spouse, like your spouse you've got to be on board. So include them in the process and be like, does this work for our family? Like, if I'm making this amount of money and we can do these things, like, is that better for us as a unit? Is that better for us as a group? And start including them so that you can be a whole unit moving together. And if they are not supportive, I mean, that's a different conversation.
Yeah. If they
Like,
don't, the thing
what's
is
wrong with
that what
you?
you just said right there is that if they don't know the plan, they can't support the plan.
Hello.
That's the
Hello.
key. You got to have that conversation with them, and hey, here's the plan. And that's my whole thing, right? I don't believe you commit and figure it out. I believe you design it the way you want it. What's the end result? What's it
Mhm.
going to take to achieve that? And then, is that something I'm willing to commit to?
100%. And those last two things, what is it going to take? And am I willing to do what it takes? That's the piece that everybody drops off, right? So they all say, oh, I want to sell. They'll come to me. Oh, I want to do what you do. I want to cold call. I want to sell over 120 deals a year. Okay. Then you need to make 1,000 contacts a month for the next 5 years. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, then you're not going to sell 120 houses a year.
No, it's
I
it's
don't know
the
what to
pain
tell
question.
you.
It's the wrong question, right? It's like, it's
Yeah,
what do you want to achieve? It's like, how much pain can I withstand?
100%. Oh
That's
my
the
God.
better
I told
question.
you this rat story, right?
No.
I lived, okay. So I own investment property. That's why I'm a real estate agent, because when I looked, I'm a math person. And when I looked at the math, it was the biggest return on my investment of time for money. So I can invest a certain amount of time cold calling and I could get out enough money to buy investment property to retire early, hence the pre-retirement living my life. Okay. So I wanted to pay off $100,000 on these 2 investment properties. And I was like looking at my budget and I was like, the only way I can do it is if I live in like a $600 a month or less apartment. Okay. Okay. Now, $600 a month. I mean, I know I live in Ohio, but it's still Cincinnati, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I am living in the ghetto, like the ghetto. And I'm about like I'm about, I think like 7 or 8 months in, and there is a giant rat, like the biggest rat you've ever seen in your life. And we live together in this apartment, apparently. We've been living together, apparently. I had no idea. I was freaking out. But anyway, so I moved into one of my investment properties when my tenant moved out like a month or two later.
Yes.
But because of that, I was able to pay off those properties.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money in a short amount of time.
Right. Right. Yeah. I
And it
mean,
was,
it's just making that sacrifice, right? Because you knew
yeah,
exactly what you wanted to do.
yeah, and it worked. And I like knew like, okay, I had to sell this many houses. I had to do this like every day. I mean, I was like, that's why I didn't even know the rat was there. So I was like so focused on like paying down these properties so I could like be debt free on those properties. And then, these are properties that make like $1,700, $800 a month in rental income. That's a big deal. That's a lot.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. And I mean,
Would I do it again? 100%.
yeah. Well,
Not like again now because I don't have to,
not with
but
the rat. Yes. Well, the thing too, though, is that you got clear on what you're utilizing this business for.
yes.
And I think that's where a lot of people don't understand. And what happens is where they get caught on the hamster wheel is that if they're just in it for the transaction and commission check. Now, what is that commission check working towards? Right?
Yes.
What is that transaction working towards? Like you had a because goal, right? You had a
Yes.
purpose. And that's where I see a lot of agents is that they just get on the hamster wheel because they're chasing the commission check instead of what are they utilizing this for? What's it
Yes.
helping them get to? What's
Yeah,
the
why are you working? What are you doing with your life? But that's why people need a coach. I mean, coach, I mean, you do this every day. Like, why? What are you doing? What's like focus, 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 like, and keeps us on track because there's a lot of noise out there. Like, there's always people that are trying to dip into our pockets. Like, oh, we can get you 10 deals a month if you just buy these things, And it's only, anyway, you know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
Or, yeah. And so, like, having a coach like you is like keeps you focused and on track because it's very easy to park in a parking spot. But we have to remember that most agents are doing 5 to 10 deals a year. If you want to do more than that, you cannot take the advice from somebody who's doing 5 or 10 deals a year. It makes no sense.
No, because it's part-time work.
Hello. And if you want to sell more than that, then you have to take advice from people who are doing more than you. You have to take advice from people who are where you want to be and be, like you said, in reality of what did they do to get there? Really, what did they do? How much time did it really take? What did they give up?
Sacrifice.
Mhm.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that just aren't willing to sacrifice their comfort. And
That's dumb. Then fine, you just get what you get.
that's
Okay.
it. It's exactly. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
And you're prolonging it. Like you can give up your comfort for less than 10 years and have the rest of your life, or you could just live comfortably and never get to the rest of your life.
Right.
Which do you choose?
Well, it's the whole thing is just kind of we would talk about, right? Is like, you're here, you want to go here. But what happens is that most people aren't willing to put in this work, right? To get
Right.
here. But what they do is that they just keep lowering their standard until where they're at is where they want to be. That's what
No,
happens. I mean, just
Yeah.
think about that, right? Then
Right.
it becomes their standard down here. And I see it over and over. And I know you do too. You talk to so many people. Jen, shift gears with us a little bit here. So we talk about, living this, life by design, the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
And it's all over the planet, traveling. I mean, you're going to this country called Texas, not too far away, shoot
I
guns.
feel like we should trade Texas and California and keep Mexico.
Yeah. And then have the tanks, you're gonna crush cars, drive a tank, which is, I mean, that
awesome.
happens in Texas. It just happens in Texas. And then off to Japan, and then other side of the world, and Florida, and just all over the place. How do you build a business structure that you're able to do these things and not be in the location that you're in?
For me, is that for the last like 4 or 5 years, this is how we've operated. So I generate leads and then I pass them off. Now, here's the secret. The clients don't care. So most people work a job where they have a team. and they have like, their job is only like, they can do this thing and this thing, but they can't do marketing. They can't do finance. They're not the boss. Certain people have certain jobs. So it makes sense to them that you also work in a team. Now, they don't have to be your actual team, and oftentimes they're not. Like, there's only two of us, me and my partner, my business partner. But we have like a bigger EXP team, right?
Sure.
So it's like, oh my gosh, like, you want to look in Price Hill. Oh my gosh, I'm going to connect you. That's great. I want to connect you with so and so who's like the expert in that area, and she's going to show you some houses. So let me connect you, and then let's connect back if you want to make any offers.
Just like you reached out to me with Kyle and Norman, right? It's like, hey, I got somebody in Norman. Like, hey, here's the rock star. Here's the best.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're the so you can maintain the relationship because you want to keep generating, you want to keep getting the referrals from that person. So you're maintaining the relationship. But you're not doing like the realtor, you're not opening doors. You're not signing listing contracts, or you can. I mean, all this can be done on Zoom now.
Mhm.
You could do Zoom appointments and then have somebody else show the houses. You could do Zoom appointments and then send the paperwork in .loop.
I have a client. You're gonna love this. She's in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
She's hit icon status. She's been over 5 or 6 years. She's hit icon status every year. In 2020, when we got locked down, guess how many homes she's been in since we could not go into homes.
I love
And
her.
keep in mind, she's hit icon status every time. So for you guys listening and not understand, that's getting to cap, 16K, which is 2.7, 2.8, let's say 3 million in production, and then another 20 transactions on top of that.
Yeah.
So you can figure out, what that looks like.
In Ohio, it's like about 32 to 35 houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. Less than 5.
One.
I love her so much.
And she treats everybody as a seller until she can prove that they're not. And then she then refers the buyers out because she's only worried about the listings.
Mm-hmm.
And what she does is that she transitions in and gets them to flip their camera on while she's on with them. And she has them do a virtual walkthrough with her on it. And she just then moves right into the next phases. She doesn't have to go, but she has leverage. She has her courier, runner, photographer that helps her get things and say, hey, you need to look at this. Could be a potential issue. We adjust price accordingly. She's got a virtual TC that does all of her back end stuff. But that goes to the point, right? Is like she bought a beach home off of her EXPI stock. She sold $1 million. She bought $1 million beach home south of Myrtle Beach. She works from the beach in the Virginia market.
Yeah.
It's icon status. That's what she's doing, what you're doing. Yes. It's like, live the fucking life that you want to live.
Why not? Most agents won't do this because they think that they have to do everything, and they pretend and they disguise it as, I'm a control freak. No, babe. What you are is a procrastinator. And you're not focused, and you don't know business. So let's be honest here, like, control freak, that's dumb. Like, you literally cannot control everything. Like, you literally can't. Okay. And if you haven't learned that, then if you're over 30, you've learned this.
It's what you want to control. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you are saying to yourself, oh, well, she's like lucky, whatever, she has this leverage. No, she just made up her mind that this is how she was going to do her business. And it's exactly what we said before. She narrowed it down. She only works with sellers. And that's really the way to go, right? Like, work with sellers, but you have to be willing to find sellers. So she's willing to ask the tough questions. She's willing to generate for the leads for the sellers, and she's willing to refer all the buyers out. But you can do it by holding the buyers too and just leveraging the showing instructions. But what you can't do is try to control everything and be everything to everyone. All you're doing is procrastinating. You're procrastinating and that's why you're not where you want to be. Because you're saying, oh, well, I'm busy. You're busy doing what? You're busy showing a house. You could pay somebody. You don't have to pay people and they'll do it for the experience, or you can pay them. You're busy doing paperwork. You're dumb. Get a TC. Why are you doing paperwork?
Right. It's not the highest leverage activity that they can
No.
do. You said there, and then procrastination. I mean, what causes that procrastination?
I think the fear of, I don't 100%. I think it's different for everyone, right? The fear of like, oh my God, do I have what it takes to be this successful? In the Midwest, we have this thing about like, well, that's enough money. Shit, you make more. You can always give it away,
Right.
right? You're probably a better steward of money than somebody else. So if you don't need that amount of money and you're making more, then do something else with it. Do something for somebody else, right?
Yeah.
But like, don't let that limit your ability to be fully you and to help. Because here's what I know. 90% of agents are pretty bad. Okay. So
95.
if I don't
You're being
contact,
generous. You're
but yeah,
being
I'm being generous. You're right. I'm more generous these days now that I'm retired. But if I don't call these people and if I don't help them, their chance of getting a bad agent is 90% or more. Do you really want that for people out there? No. I want them to have the best experience possible. And I know that me and my team, my group, it's not really a team, me and my partners, me and my colleagues are the best for these people. And that motivates me to call them.
It is. Man. Yeah. I mean, it definitely does come down to a choice, like you
Mhm.
said, and it's that mental game, right? That
Yeah.
and where we break through that mental game is just taking action, right? Just taking that one step,
Right.
just do it.
Yes.
Just make the call.
Exactly.
Do it.
And the funny thing happens, right? A funny thing happens when you're in momentum. We've all been in a place where we're in momentum and then we get
Mm,
mad at ourselves for getting out of it, right? But this is life. We're human. But when you're in momentum, we have all experienced this, that it's like everything becomes easier.
yeah.
So the challenge is to get into momentum faster and to stay in momentum longer. And the more that you do that, your energy will rise, your intensity will rise, your mindset will be more positive, and it will be a lot easier to stay that way.
How do you stay
And
that? How do you stay that way? How do you stay in
well,
momentum?
how do I stay in momentum? Well, for me, it's discipline. So discipline state keeps me, I'm pretty disciplined because I know that I have a direct link from work to money. Like I know what I need to do to get the money. And then always knowing where I'm going next. So I know I'm going to Japan. Oh, I know I'm going to be gone for 2 months and I know what I'm doing and I'm
That
pumped
was the
about
one
it.
thing that I always got onto you about, right? Is like, where's our next trip? Where's our next
Yeah,
trip? And you'd be like,
exactly.
I don't know. I'd be like, you better figure it out fast.
Plan it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get drunk one day and then I plan a trip. And then I'm like, oh, this is where I'm going. Okay, good.
Okay, cool.
Also White Claw helps or Truly. I like Truly, but you know. Okay, anyway, so if you have something exciting to look forward to, it could be, the EXP con or shareholders event or what your rah-rah, if you like that stuff. For me, it's traveling and being gone for like a month or two and
Right.
hooking up with my friends and seeing what everybody's doing. It's easier to stay in momentum. And then really like for me, I'm a checklist person. If I can cross it off my checklist, so I make a list. Okay, I need to talk to this many people today. And then I keep track. Did I talk to these many people? And I check it off. I'm like, oh, and that creates more momentum. Oh, okay. I need to post on Facebook today. Did I do that? Okay. And that creates more momentum because I've accomplished my goal. Something
Right.
as simple as like, did I wake up at the time that I said I was going to wake up? When you get out of bed at the time that you had preset to get out of bed, your whole day looks different.
A huge win. It is a huge win. You avoid that snooze button. It's a huge win. It
Yes.
really is. It
So what
really.
I did in the beginning, because I like sleeping, but I also like being up in the morning, but I'm like, I need accountability. So what I did is I have had an accountability partner for, I mean, it's been more than 10 years. She's an agent in Miami. So I was like, okay, I want to start getting up at 4:45. So our call is now at 4:45. And she's
Yeah,
like, okay, good for me. Good for us, right? And so I was able to be more accountable to her than I was myself in the beginning.
always. It's
And
always
so if
easier to
you
be
can like
accountable to
set
someone
your bumper with somebody else and not depend fully on you, it's better. It
else.
creates the discipline.
It does. It really does. And I mean, you nailed it. I mean, just those couple little things, right? Getting out of bed when you say you're going to get out of bed, not hitting snooze, making your bed, right? Those are all little victories, but that's kind of gets
starting
that.
work on time. Like,
Yeah.
what time do you start? Like, we make calls at 8, 7:45, 8.
Yep.
It's like, okay, so everybody's on the Zoom. We're all looking at each other. Everybody's on the phone. You better be talking. The phone better be ringing at 8 o'clock. If it's not ringing, you didn't start on time. Now, when it is ringing, you're like, oh, good, I did that.
Yeah.
And now it's all of a sudden your mindset is better. You're like, oh, good, I did that.
It's accountability. One last thing, Jen, that you talked about, you had just mentioned, you were talking about, control, procrastination, but then it was not understanding business fundamentals, business 101.
Yes.
And I see that with so many real estate agents. I mean, they don't even know. I mean, they run their business based upon whatever money's in the checking account. They don't look at a P&L. They don't know what they're spending money on. They don't know if it's working or a return. And they really got away from it the last couple of years. Majority, those that understand it and discipline to it, never wavered, right? They kept paying attention to it. What, when you say they don't have the business acumen, the business understanding, like what are the basic, fundamentals? Like, hey, you at least got to know this.
You at least have to know how many people do you need to talk to in order to get a signed contract, and how many signed contracts do you need in order to have a closing? Right? Is there better ones than those two?
No, I think that's on the front end. If they were playing any defense on the business.
Oh, well, what do you really make? Really? Net.
Yeah.
Well, also, what is, like, if you're not at EXP, then you're losing out on the opportunity to earn over 100% of your commission. So what do you pay? Like, what's your gross versus net? Meaning, what are you making, like, commission? What is the commission check that you get at the title company or attorney versus what goes in your pocket? What are your cost of goods and your expenses? What are your expenses? Like, what are you really spending your money on?
Yeah. Yeah. And are you getting a return on that money?
Unlikely.
Right. But
that's like, what do
you know what I mean?
Yeah, hold it accountable. What is even a return, right? We're not even there. Like, people don't even know. They think that a return is, okay, if I buy these Zillow leads and if I get one deal, then it pays for itself. That's a good return. No, that's a shitty return. It's a shitty return. It's zero. And it's actually, you have an opportunity cost associated with that. What did you not spend money on that could have gotten? So it's negative return.
And it's so expensive that you got to wake up, and it's this knowing that bill's going to hit that, it's just like, and especially as tough as it is with buyers right now, how much of a challenge that really is, spending high dollar cost per lead.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people think, they have to have an assistant, and paying an assistant when really they're only doing 10 transactions. You don't need an assistant. You don't need to bankroll somebody. Even before return, what are you truly making and what are you truly spending?
Yeah.
We could start there.
And then the basics down to, like, you nailed the two things. How many people do I need to talk to that I'm going to be able to, get face to face or have, willing to want to do business with me? And then how many of those people do I need willing to do business with me that's going to get to the closing table?
Yep. That's it.
That simple. And they're like, well, how many leads do I need? As many as it takes. How many conversations? Yeah. We used to say that all the time, and people would just kind of look at us, and I'd be like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You need to talk to 10 people. You have to do whatever you need to do to talk to
those people. That's it. Exactly. Like, we had it narrowed down, 1,000 contacts a month, 1,000 contacts a month. I have no idea how many people I called. I can only imagine. But if you start looking at, like, how many leads did I have versus the net out, like how many people I talked to, you're going to go crazy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It only matters that you talk to those 1,000 people and that you netted out the closings that you wanted.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Do what you got to do, babe.
Do what you got to do. Live the life you want to live.
Why not? I mean, God, what are you doing? You also need to be driving a tank over a car like I'm going to be doing, shooting a 50 caliber. Man, that's awesome. And then head to Japan.
I'm jealous.
It's going to be awesome.
Oh, I love it. I appreciate you so much. You're always just full of energy, full of truth, full of, you know, what people really must hear. And it really, if they want to be successful, not in this business, but successful in life, it's just do the things that you're supposed to do.
That's it. Boom.
Boom.
Thanks for being a great coach, John.
You're amazing. I appreciate you. All right. Have fun. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys next time.